love His will more than to follow our rabbi. Being wealthy is not sin. It's never be a sin to have wealth. It's just become sin when you treasure your wealth first than the one who gave you the wealth. And sometimes we puff up. We thought and we think that these riches of ours is made by these hands. It's made by your strength. Made by your smartness, your will, your education, your skills. You might say it is. But the right question is, who gave you those skills in the first place? Who gave you the wit to become smart? Who gave you the strength to work? Is it that Him should go first and comes first always than the one came out of your hand? This young man is so brave because he cannot let go of his belongings. Sometimes we are just comfortable with what we have. And sometimes when we lose those things that gives us comfort in life, sometimes we question why it is happening to us in the first place. You know, as our dear pastor once said, when he went to the Philippine island, he said to me one day, he said, so what we have in America is too much. I said, yes sir, you have too much. But sometimes we don't know what is too much. We always say more. Our rabbi is saying that because we trust more this life than the life that He is about to give to us on the day of the judgment, we grieve here on earth. Instead of being joyful, being happy, being hopeful, no, we're not. We feel as if Father Yah is punishing us. Might be because of what we did. But most of the time, if we are doing it for faith, then it is not punishment. You just need to go through what you need to go through. And sometimes you need to learn the hard way. That's why in Romans chapter 8, verse 35, here we go. Romans 8:35. Who shall separate us from the love of our rabbi? Did he say who? Yes. Is it our loved ones, our children, our grandchildren, our friends? Are they the one who's going to separate us from the love of Father Yah? You know, if there's one thing that most of the believers fall into, is when we marry and pick our mate outside of the church. Believe it or not, for my almost 30 years of my faith, I've seen a lot of this that goes out of the way because of their husband, because of their wife. Saul said, you're not committing sin against it. But be sure that when you do, you have your faith that your husband or your wife follow you through instead of you following him or her. That's why if time for my children to go and find a wife for my son Dean, our son Dean, and husband for our two daughters, I told them and prayed that Father will give them somebody as their mate forever with the same faith. Because it is so hard, I'm telling you, I've seen it. It's so hard that husband and wife have different faith when they rear their children. Oh, it is hard. I've seen it. So, Saul is saying, who are going to separate us from the love of Father Yahweh? You believe on the Sabbath, your husband believes on the Sunday. What will you do? You go both together on Sabbath and both together on Sundays? Probably so. To feel each other. But at the end of the day, hoping and praying. Saul even said, who can say that your husband will be saved because of your faith, or you will be saved because of your husband's faith? Is that what he said? Yes. But to those who are just still looking for one, heed of what Apostle Saul is saying. Shall tribulation, time will come that we will be persecuted because of our faith. If it is written for us to suffer for our faith, then it's going to happen. All we have to do is prepare ourselves if we will be the one to be chosen by Father Yahweh to suffer with our faith. That's why it is written, you will not receive any more that you can bear. Our Rabbi, our Elohim is not going to be unfair for giving us trials that we cannot bear. But don't think, even on a single bit, that you are going to be away with these sufferings. No, you're not. We are not. Because if we understand the prayers of our Rabbi in John chapter 17, he said, I am not asking you, Father, to take them out of this world. He is not asking us. He is not asking his Father, should I say, to take us out of this world. He is not asking our Father. He is asking the Father to guide and strengthen the disciples in this world. Shall distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? Saul said in verse 37, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors. We are more than these conquerors. It is true. We are more. If we believe, should I say, that our Rabbi will see us through. It is true that we are more than conquerors. In Psalm 119, verse 16, Psalm 119, verse 16, here it is. Verse 116. Psalm 119, verse 116. Uphold me according to your promise. Did he promise not to leave us nor forsake us? Yes. And we believe that hope and promise by the Father that he will not going to leave us in time of our distress, in time of our grief. That I may live. Now, that I may live means you are not going to lose your hope. Because our Rabbi said, to those who have faith in me and uphold their faith, I am joyful. But to those who are going to transgress back or go back to where they came from, before they have their faith? It says, my spirit is not with them. It is written before our time, my brothers and sisters, that a believer should live through his faith. We need to show to our loved ones, we need to show to our children, we need to show to our grandchildren that in this faith there is hope, irregardless of what is happening. I commend those brothers and sisters of us who has their faith until now in spite of what is happening in their lives. Those are what you call the true warriors in this faith. That's why we call them elders of this faith. That's why we get from our strength from them. Because they've been through a lot and yet they were able to stand. And let not be put to shame in my hope. Yes, it is true. We hope for something that it will be better. We hope that this too will pass, whatever tragedy we are, whatever state of sadness we are here or we are there. This too will pass. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 6 and verse 7. Second Corinthians chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. If we are afflicted, it is for your comfort and salvation. Wow. So instead of being saddened with the grief, instead of being crying with the grief, should we be joyful then? That's what Apostle Saul is trying to say. Because if we are afflicted, it is for your comfort and salvation. And if we are comforted, it is for your comfort, which you experience when you patiently endure the same sufferings that we suffer. Now Saul is saying that if we suffer, we endure it. And I want you to do the same thing. That's what the Apostle Saul is saying. Again, it is not if, it is simply when. Our hope for you is unshaken. For we know that as you share in our sufferings, you will also share in our comfort. That's why it is written, these things were written for our learning, that we should hope, that we should have hope. That's the reason why it is so important to you to hear the word of Father Yahweh. You cannot be your own pastor, my dear brothers and sisters. And you only want to read when you want to read. And you only want to hear when you want to hear. In Ephesians chapter 1, verse 18, here's another. Ephesians 1:8. Here we go. I'm sorry, 1:18 should I say. I bad early. Ephesians 1:18. Here we go. Having the eyes of your hearts enlightened, that you may know what is the hope to which He has called you. Should we know better already? That's what Apostle Saul is saying. Have your hearts enlightened already about the word of Father Yah? We should. Because there will be a time, as Apostle Saul said, I should have not just fed you with milk. You need to take some meat. Meaning we should just grown in our faith, not just like the day when we first arrived in this sanctuary, nor this assembly. We should know better, and we should live better every day of our life. We should be a good example to our siblings in good works and in good words. Meaning you should be the example of your friends, your classmates. Wherever you go, you should be the light already as our